Hi everyone, I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing and commenting. I really appreciate the support. In this one I want to speak to you about a quote that I've been thinking about for a while now, but I think that this particular quote is very poignant for this time that we're alive in, this particular time when there is a lot of crazy things going on and a lot of us are probably feeling a little bit of anxiety at how we're supposed to be dealing with this. Are we actually making an impact, or should we even be trying to make an impact in a world that seems so uncertain? And the quote is something like, "A society grows great when old men decide to plant trees in whose shade they would never sit," right? And it's an ancient quote. I don't know exactly where it comes from or who actually said it first, but I've heard this quote many times in the past few years, but particularly a lot in the past few months, because I think the idea right now is that there is a lot going on in the world and a lot of us are trying to think about what can we necessarily do in this time, in this mode, in this particular season, in order to make an impact that would actually last, that would actually cause some kind of change, positive change in the future. A lot of times though, I've realized from all the different things that I've done on social channels, on social media channels and through YouTube, is that you don't actually know what the impact of your work is going to be. When I first started doing my YouTube videos, I didn't know why I was doing them. I was doing them for myself. I still am kind of doing it for myself, but I do realize that as I do more and more of them, there's a higher and higher impact on different kinds of people because of the words that I share. But when I first started doing it, I wanted to have that impact, but I did not know whether I would have that impact. I had no idea, in fact, if I was actually going to have that kind of impact. I worried that I would never have that impact, but I kept on going. And I think that's the idea behind everything that we do, especially right now, is that a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world right now makes us imagine that nothing that we do is actually going to impact anything. It feels like everything that we're doing is completely useless. It feels like we're actually like inconsequential in this modern time, and we feel like no matter what we do, nothing's gonna make a difference anyways. And that's also causing a lot of apathy and helplessness in a lot of the people around. It makes us feel like, what is the point, right? I'm here to say, obviously, because of this quote and because of what I've done in my own life and the ideas that I've learned and the wisdom that I've gained, is that it matters. Like, whatever you do, I've spoken about the ripple effect many times in other videos. I am going to speak about it again here because it matters. Everything that you do, whatever you do, whatever minuscule thing you do or whatever major thing you do, whatever thing you do, whatever it might be, even if you think that's not making a difference, if you do it with the right intention and you're going into it with the idea that you want to perpetuate some kind of positive change, I think it makes a difference. And not only do I think it makes a difference, but I think that in general, the ripple effect ensures that whatever you're doing does make a difference. Maybe not right away, maybe you won't be sitting here, or maybe not even in 50 years might you notice the differences or the changes or the impact that you want. But eventually, yes, there will be an impact. And the reason we're making these changes, the reason we're doing the things that we're doing, is not because we want to sit in the shade of the trees that we plant. A lot of times we might not be able to sit in the shade of the trees we plant. This tree behind me, if you can see it, you can see that I'm standing underneath it. I planted it 10, 12, actually almost 20 years ago. No, 10 years ago, 10 years ago. So we moved into this house 10 years ago, and I planted this tree 10 years ago, or 9 years ago, something around there, because I wanted to sit in its shade. But I didn't actually know that I would ever be able to sit in the shade. A lot of times I imagined that maybe we might even move away and we might never even live in the house for 10 or more years. I never imagined that I actually would be able to sit in the shade of this tree. So it actually worked out perfectly well. But I planted it knowing that I'm planting a tree that's going to bring oxygen into the world, it's going to clean up the air around us, it's going to cool down the house, it's going to reduce our heating and cooling costs, and I had all these ideas in my head. But I didn't know that if it would necessarily work out for us, if we were going to stay in this house for a long time to come, or if we would move out and move to some other house in the burbs or somewhere else in the city. But I did it because I knew that it would impact someone, not just me, but someone on the planet, whoever was living in this house eventually. And in general, more trees are always a good idea, right? But what I'm trying to say here is that I want us to start thinking about, especially INFJ, if you are an INFJ, or if you are a kind of person who believes or wants to make an impact, but is feeling this kind of pullback where it feels like nothing that you do is actually making an impact. I want to remind you guys again of the ripple effect, but also of the fact that you're making these changes or trying to make these changes or trying to make this impact not because you want to see the fruits of the impact right away, or the fact that you want to get accolades for it right away, or that you want to sit in the shade of the tree that you plant right away, but that eventually in the future the ripple effect will take place and the tree will be planted and it'll grow and it'll be immense and it'll create a lot of great stuff and oxygen and purity and all that stuff, and eventually someone will sit in the shade of that magnificent tree and will be grateful for the person who planted that tree in the first place, naming you, right? And so whatever you're trying to do, I don't know what is your way of making an impact on the planet right now. I don't know what you're trying to do in order to join the BLM movement, or what you're doing in order to support the the LGBTQ BTQ community in America, or whatever you're doing in your own way. It might not be as exponential or as big as what someone else is doing, but you're doing something. It might behoove you to notice that it's not going to take impact, or it's not going to cause an impact right away, right? And as human beings, sometimes it's a little bit scary to do something and to realize, well, maybe it'll take 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years for it to take notice or to take effect. And we sit there thinking, is it even worth it? Should I even bother if I'm not going to see the effects of it? Should I even bother writing that book if I'm not going to get accolades for it? Or should I even try doing anything if it's not even going to result in anything in the future for me? If I'm not going to get any benefit out of it, if someone else is going to get the benefit out of it, why bother? But if you start doing all of these things in that manner, then a lot of the things that have happened, good things on the planet that have happened because of people who decided that they were going to make a change, not for themselves particularly, because they wanted to impact the people in the future. You know, Rosa Parks, or people like Martin Luther King, or all of the different revolutionaries in the world, Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, and all of the people that you can think of, they didn't think that they were like, all right, I'm going to do this because I want to sit in the shade of that tree that I've planted. I'm doing it because I want to make an impact on the people and the future generations. And that's why they did the things they did. That's why they ran the revolutions that they did, peacefully or not. And they did the things they did because they knew one day someone would be sitting underneath that tree that they planted and be grateful for the shade that it provides, and be grateful for the benefit that it provides to them. And they will maybe be remembered for it or maybe not. But either way, they want to plant all of these trees around so that it could benefit people in the future. And I always think of every video that I do, that I put out in the universe, as a little tree that is going to grow up eventually and maybe cause a lot of good benefit to the world. Perhaps I'll still be here and actually be able to see the benefit that it's causing. Perhaps I won't. Perhaps I might be long gone, but it's still going to be there. It's still planted. It's there. And it's going to keep on giving benefit to the people that might see it or might not see it even, because of the ripple effect. And again, I want to remind you that everything that you do has an effect on the universe, has an effect in this world, has an effect even though you might not be aware of it. There's so many things happening in the background that we are not able to see, that the universe sees, that if you want to call God or the great creator sees. And it's not our responsibility to see the effects of our actions. It's not our responsibility to be like, all right, I've done this, now let me sit and wait to see what effects it garners. The main thing that we need to do is do the work. The fruits of our labors are not ours. They might be ours, maybe we might get some fruits out of it, but it's not as if we are attached to it. We shouldn't be attached to it, at least. It would be better if we weren't attached to it, because then we can just let go and keep on doing the work that we're supposed to be doing. We're doing the work in spite or despite of the fact that we're not getting accolades for it or we're getting benefits out of it, because we know sometime in the future some other person will get the benefit of it, or someone in the world is getting the benefit of it without our knowledge. And that's all that matters, right? We're doing it because we want to keep on doing it. We want to keep on changing the world. We want to keep on improving the world in our own little way, little by little. But again, we're not going to sit most of the time in the shade of the trees that we plant. We just have to plant them and let them grow on their own, and let them give the benefits to the people that they're going to give the benefit to without our knowledge. We are not going to care about the shade. We're not going to be able to sit in the shade, but other people will, and that's all that we should really be focused on. Or that's what at least we should try to focus on. So I wanted to share this with you, not only because, of course, this is something that I have to learn all the time as well. It's a lesson that I'm constantly trying to prove to myself or get into my brain, because sometimes I have a hard time too. I'm like, why am I doing this? What's the point? Well, there's a point. It's a ripple effect. Things are happening behind the surface even if you're not aware of it. And sometimes things take time to congeal and for them to make things happen, right? So some things just don't happen right away. You have to give them time and space to grow and blossom. I hope this makes sense. I hope I was able to explain myself to you. If you have any questions about it, obviously do comment below and I shall do a follow-up video. Otherwise, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I appreciate the support, and I shall see you the next time around. Bye for now.